Hey everybody, welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host Tony Visco, and we're going to attempt, never mind try to attempt, we're going to do some glass. And I've got in front of me three glass jars, or not in front of me, but in a photograph. A couple of bottles, three different colors. Let me show you the actual photograph that I'm going to use. I stole this from, one of the images online. So we're just going to set this thing up. It's got a basic black background. We may not even put in the black background. I'm not too sure yet, but nonetheless, I'm going to use this as my reference, and we are going to paint a glass. So that's how I'm going to handle it, and I'm going to tape it up, and I'll be right with you. So when I did this, when I drew this up, it's a little over to the right-hand side compositionally, but this is not a deal with composition. This is more a deal with how to achieve that glass effect. So we have a couple of choices, I suppose. We can paint the background first, or we can paint the bottles. And I think, I think what I'm going to really do is to concentrate on the glass itself. Let's go through the process of, first of all, the way we're going to handle glass is going to be probably more through layering, transparent layers, letting it dry. But we'll go through the process and see how it all shakes out. Because these are fun projects, and the projects are designed to keep us interested and informed. And can I move this over here a little bit? Maybe I can. There you go. Maybe I'll capture the mixture as well. So this, we're going to try we'll start with the bottle. First of all, we'll start with this jar right here, and the jar actually is a little bit on the brownish side, red brown. Then we got a nice strong green one, and then a light green one. But what I will do is just take it a step at a time so that you can follow me, and let's see where we go. So let's do this. Let's take just take some water, and very carefully we're going to come in here, and I'm going to do, like I said, one step at a time here. So we're going to wet this. We're going to wet the interior of this particular jar. Okay. Now one of these, what's going to happen here is that there's going to be a reflection from one to another. It's glass. We're going to see from one glass to another, or one through the jar into the background and so forth. So we have to be prepared for that. So there's that one there. I'm going to wet up, and we'll start with that. And I'm going to actually give this. If you can see what I'm doing here, I'm getting a lot of water and mixing up a very, very light tone of magenta as my first pass here. And with the exception of some highlights, which I probably, here's what we'll do, is we'll take this bit of tissue, and we're just going to sort of dab these highlights out so that they're drier. So let's say that there's a couple of highlights here, and one here, and one here. And maybe we're going to highlight here, here, here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just dry out some of that area, but I'm going to just start to put in a light wash. And let I'm going to let that light wash of magenta sort of come in here and fill the area. All right, but I'm going to leave some of this white. And that's basically what I did, is I'm drying out that area. Light wash of magenta. And as I do this, now that I have that light wash of magenta in there, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just take a little bit of burnt sienna, and we're going to end up sort of filling some burnt sienna in here as well, because The glass has got a lot of burnt sienna with it, but that magenta is in the background, and we're seeing through that magenta. We're going to actually see through this, but notice I'm keeping it nice and light. Okay, the background, as I said, is going to end up, we are going to have ultimately a dark background to this. So I'll put the dark in later. I'm not really too worried about, let's say, going beyond, for instance, if I go beyond a little bit, I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. And the reason for that is because I'm going to end up putting in a dark background, so we're going to probably cover some of that area. But all I'm doing is I'm floating my water in there. My light. This is very light, by the way. It's all watery. It's a good mixture, but it's a very watery mixture. Down here, I'm going to make this nice and dark, so I'm going to start to put in an area. I'm going to keep it as translucent as possible. So while this is sort of setting up, what I want to do, I'm going to throw in a couple of other quick highlights. Well, not now. I need this to dry a little bit now. Okay, so let's go on to my next jar here. I'm going to end up doing the same thing with this one. Now, this is going to be all green. And we're going to start off with, if it's going to be green, I'm going to start off with a light wash of my cerulean blue. And that one I did wet. I wet it first. This one I'm not wetting first. I just want to show you the difference between the two. Both of these will work equally as well, but let's go in here. We got highlights over here. I can control the highlights a little bit more. This will be a little bit more hard edge, by the way, because of the way I'm handling this thing. It's not wet into wet. It's wet and dry, wet into dry area. But again, I can handle this a little bit better, and I can come around here and come in with my blue. This is nothing more than cerulean blue. All right. And I'm washing it in. I'm following the contour of the bottle. I want to leave some white areas. Very important that we leave white areas. We need reflection. Okay, so we need, let's say, if that's the edge of the bottle there, we need a white area reflected in there. Come down over here. And this is going to end up being darker as well. But I need to get my base in here, my background. Okay. So this is all going to be and in this jar right here, this is going to be lighter, but we have a reflection in that jar that I'm looking at right now from the bottle behind it. And we want to make sure that we have some of that in there. Okay, so we're just going to come in here and I'm going to add this reflection in here. So what I'm really doing is I'm sort of reflecting the back of that bottle, or the front of the barrel, because this jar is in front of that one there. Okay, so what we have here is a reflective surface. We're seeing through it to the bottle behind it, and we just want very light. I'm going to leave a lot of it white. Going to come down in here. Okay, and we're going to see some reflections in this as well. I'm moving over to a little bit of a lavender color. I'm mixing a little bit of lavender in here, as you can see, and just come over here. Just want to change it up a little bit cooler over here. And again, this is glass, so it's really a matter of how to manipulate the paint to give you that glass reflection. So here's my bottle. The bottom of my bottle is down here, which will be very dark, by the way, when I'm through, right down in this area here. But the reflection of it is up here. And I'm going to come down here, because I'm also seeing the table through this. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit of a brilliant blue green. All right, so what I'm using is actually a little bit of a staining color down here. Normally I stay away from staining colors, as you know, but in this case it's glass. We're going to play around with it. All right, and we have something like this over here, and we have, with that little bit of staining color, I'm going to dull it down a bit. And we're just going to come in here and put some dark over there and a couple of darks there. We're going to put a little bit more in here, make this a little bit darker. By darker I mean more pigment. I'm leaving all of that white because I'm going to go over it once it dries. So what I've got right now is my outline of my bottle, a jar, and a what is that? A vase? Not a vase, but something that you would pour something out of. My God, I can't remember. My mind is getting squishy. I can't believe it. Well, yes, I can believe it. That's what happens. Okay, so what we want to do is to make sure that we've got this something more of the greenish blue side, but very, very, very light. Very light greenish blue. Okay, and we're coming in here and I'll let that dry up a bit. This is a little bit darker down here. And that's going to be a lot darker as we come in here. So remember, I need to see this jar here, a reflection of that in this area here as well. What I want to do here is to darken this up a bit. So I'm going to come in here with my cerulean blue, add a little bit of French ultramarine blue to it. All right, now I'm not going to try to keep this super wet, but I do want to pick up a little bit of my new gamboge, turn this up into my, I'm coming in here with a little bit of a greenish cast to it, and I want to come down and start giving it my green character over the blue. Now what I could have done is just put my new gamboge on top of it. That's one way to do it. This is all going to be dark pretty soon. I got a soft green in here. Okay. This is going to be really super white. It's all going to be dark. So we can make that a little bit greener. We're going to make this darker up here. And this is glass. Glass bottles, glass jars. Sort of, we want to make sure that we can see through this. All right. And if I can see through that, that's a good thing. Again, we're going to touch a little bit of that green in here. That's the green that we're seeing through. We're seeing through this jar. So that we can pour in there. And that's going to be pretty. I'm going to leave this all light and white right now, okay? Because it's important. I need that very light. So I'm going to leave it white. And we're going to end up. We're going to come in there and make that a little bit more, a little bit stronger. Want to get this down at the bottom here. If we're sitting, on something down here, so I'm going to add a little bit of this nice beefy dark over here. Come in a little bit more so that you can see through that. Let's get a little bit darker with my my base over here. I'm going to come in here. This is going to be actually darker. And it's soft right now, I realize that. Still a little bit too wet. Not ready for it. That's a little bit too wet. But that's my, I'm going to be sitting on top of that. That's my base. So again, we're keeping it on the light side. There is something with this wet into wet that I want to just try to do. I might be able to do this. I want to create, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create a little bit of those reflections by taking, this is actually, I guess you can do this with the saran wrap, or you can do it with, you can do this with any plastic. Free-forming plastic. I'm just going to try to do it with this right now. Maybe a little bit, not ready yet. Nope, not right. Not going to work that way. Okay, so we're going to have to play around with that because that's pulling up the fiber. This is soft paper, so probably that wasn't the thing to do. Not probably at all, but we'll fix that. So I'm going to have to let this, let me just make sure that this is nice and dry. What I'll do is I'm going to dry this with my dryer. Okay, what I did is I just took and I dried this out. I've got a motley look here because of what I did with that paper towel, I mean that plastic tape that I had. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. But I'm going to have to live with that, and we'll just have to keep going here. So, now that this is totally dry, I'm going to put another light layer over this. Okay, so my lighter layer is going to be a little bit deeper. I'm using a little bit of cobalt blue mixture. It's watery. Alright, so I need to come over here. I got a bottle look coming out. This is going to be all nice and dark. Coming down and into this area right here. And I got a little bit of a white area here. All right, so I got just to use a little bit of cobalt blue with my mixture of a little bit here. We'll do it again. A little bit of cobalt blue in here, a little bit of new gamboge. Just getting this green just a bit more, a little bit darker. Okay, and we're going to start to look at this. Let's get this a little bit darker up here too. So we have that coming down there. I'm going to come down here with a little bit value, and we're going to make this a little bit value here, stronger value there. Okay, a little bit of thin, and because I'm going to end up dark, I'm going to end up dark anyway, so let's do that. And we'll do this to give you the impression of it coming across. All right, so we need to fatten this up a little bit here. Alright, now I'm not going to come down at the end here, I'm just going to come down in the center. I don't want to go right to the end with this. I want to leave it a little bit lighter at the edge of that bottle. And I'm sort of snaking my way down, if I can do this. Right, so coming over here, and then this is a big area right here. This thing here, you want to make sure that that neck is shown. And the curve, it's the curve here, a little bit of new gamboge and cobalt blue to make my green. All right. And then I'm coming over here, and I'm going to make this all one tonal value. And I'm going to bring this color down and around And I'm going to just sort of snake it down, and I'm going to, it's not straight, I didn't put that straight. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do this, straighten this out, and I'm going to come down right at the edge. Right at the edge. Okay. Now I got a little bit of a light area here. I want to create this little bit of nice little light line in there. I can do that. There you go. Now, let's start to build this. This is a light wash. I've changed it up, right? A little bit of cobalt blue. But I've added now a little bit of my red mixture, my maroon mixture, down in this area here. All right, now this is going to be real dark. This is going to be absolutely real dark. But not right now. And so what I'm doing is I'm differentiating if that's the right word. I'm not even sure if that's the right word here, but this is going to be super dark down here. That's going to be dark in there. So let's get a little bit of cobalt blue. Just a little bit of cobalt blue. Making this darker. Remember, it's a glass jar, glass bottle. We want it to look like glass. I'm looking for a nice strong value there. All right, so we're going to get a little bit of cobalt blue, but I'm going to add now French ultramarine blue to this. All right, and what I'm doing with the French ultramarine blue is putting in some dark highlights. Nice and rich. A little bit of wiggle. All right, a little bit of French ultramarine blue in here, right? Okay. Now remember, right now I'm just putting in the basics. Okay, so we have what do we have here? We have some interesting, this interesting blue. This blue purple here, it's almost like sky blue. That's going to be picked up in here. A little bit there, maybe a little bit right there. And that's probably from a reflection in here. I'm going to soften that up with a little bit of water. Remember, what am I seeing in here? I'm seeing some of this bottle in the background, right? So that's what that is. All right. Let's get a little bit of gray in here, a little bit more, dull this down a bit. We'll just use some okay, so as this dries, I'm going to go back and start working it a little bit more over here with this color, with this jar right here. And I probably shouldn't have worked there first because of my hand, so what I'm going to do is, let me see if I can find my maul stick here just to keep my mitts off of that. And we have, it looks like a stopper on this. Right there, and we're going to just do a nice thin line in here. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm adding a little bit of red to that blue. Get into a purplish, a little bit of a purplish area, color-wise. Just start to look at pulling in some of that color there, and I'm going to go down under here. Okay. Add a little bit of red to this. Let it spread out a bit. As we come across here. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is, again, what happens here is that we have this jar, this bottle, decanted bottle, and we have my dark area. That's going to come around. Okay. And the dark area is going to come down here. There's a little bit of purple, purple, red. That makes sense? I don't know if it makes sense. All right, so we have this area right here. It's coming up. That's going to be coming up there. This is all going to get dark, by the way. And this is going to be dark here. All right, so we'll worry about the nice highlights later. We just want to put in some of the basic darks so that we know roughly where we're going. It doesn't have to be exact, but we need to know somewhat of where we speak. We want to get this thing okay. So I have a light line in here, a light highlight. It comes around. And I've got something underneath that is really dark. This area right here is basically sitting on a table. And a little bit dark on that side as well. So let's go back. Let's get that nice strong red, maybe a little bit of red brown, and take burnt. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that. I don't know, I really probably don't have to be this careful because I'm going to go over it with this with black anyway. But to show you what we're trying to accomplish, I think probably this is not a bad thing to do. And again, now what I want to do here is take a little bit of this blue and maybe a little bit of that orange. You need that to glow a little bit more. A little bit of that orange. I'm going to put some of that orange in here. I need this to have some glow to it. I'll have to make that nice and dark in there. Oh, I already smudged it. Look at that. Haha. All right, we'll fix that. It's this orange. It's going to be, this is the nice highlight here. Okay. We'll do something with that, believe me. Need that to glow a little bit there as well. And what we need to do is just, this is cool down here, but we want to just give it a little bit of a touch. A little bit of a touch of warmth down there on the table. So this is like, it's almost, I don't want to say it's a slow build-up. I guess it is a slow build-up. We're going to take a little bit of this and put it in here. Okay. Reflections. Let's get this nice light, what's that light blue? This bluish tone. What we want to do is to get this, a little bit of this reflected in here. Glass jars, glass bottles, glass, and it's transparent. That's the whole key. This is all transparent. So rather than put any white in here, where is my little scrub brush? I'm going to soften. I want to soften the edge a bit. And I'll do that. I'm going to try to do that with this brush here. I'm just coming in here and lifting out a little bit of. There you go. And the same thing that's going to happen over here. I want this to come around. Okay, let's get a little bit of orange in here. Get this a little bit of greener in there. Okay, because that's reflecting that bottle back there. I'm going to take a little bit of my blue. Again, cut that a little bit there. take my little bit of my blue here. We'll soften it there. Okay. I want this nice and glowy. So let me just take this, mix it with a little bit of this. Okay, so let's just take my other brush I was working with, come in here. I want to make this a little bit darker. Couple of highlights. Highlight there. Gonna make a highlight here as well. Come down. Highlight. Highlight there, highlight here. Got a nice long highlight down here. There we go. All right, we'll just take a little bit of that blue, a little bit of my burnt sienna with the blue. I'm going to come back over here, and again, a little bit darker for my base. Okay, so we got the bottom of my bottle over there. Let's get a little bit more of this red in here. We're going to make this softer. This has got a lot of highlights in it, this one here. This is all dark. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I don't mean not to talk. I just get concentrating in this thing and to explain what I'm doing. Like I said, this was going to get darker. So again, this is not dry enough yet, but I do want to get some light blue reflection in here. And I'm going to put some light blue, some more light blue reflection in these areas here. Now this is pretty dark. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of going, I'm tinting, or is it tinting? Yeah, I'm tinting, I guess, right? Right over this whole thing. Transparent color. Creating that reflection. So let's get this nice and dry again. I'm going to use my dryer. You don't need to listen to the noise. I'll be right back. Okay, so the question at this point is, what do we do from here to make this thing really, really stand out, really glow? Well, let me just come in here for a second. Let me slice through that. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of water. Wetting this, taking some of the, making sure that some of this highlight, reflective stuff is in place. Because this is important. Okay. Okay, a little bit of, what I'm doing is I'm taking some of the highlights out of here. Lifting some highlights. Water. Softening the area. So it's a combination of hard edges and soft edges. You need to get this overall feeling of glass, and without that feeling of glass, and that's the way. One of the ways to do it is to lift and put your colors in there, and then just lift it out. Come across like that. All right. This is a bottle, and it's got reflection, all kinds of reflections in here. Now, can it be done other ways? Yeah, I suppose it can. Sure, why not? And I'll probably play around with a few. Oh, I think I did that. I gotta go put some of that back. Let me just do it down here. I'm gonna end up putting some of that back there. Okay. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. We have this reflection coming down here. You have glass reflection in there. This is basically what this is softening some of the edges. All right, now let's do this. Before we can complete this, we need to put in some darks in the background. So let's mix up some darks. I'm not going to put them everywhere, but I'm going to just put them around here because we got to finish all of this up. So we have a table. Let's say we have a table down here that's on the grayish side. It's white marble, got a little bit of gray to it, so let's get some cobalt blue in here. We'll get some okay, it's sitting on a table, and we'll get that sitting on there in a second. All right, the way we're going to do that is to get it in here and give it some shadow. A little bit of gray. We'll get that working so it's correct. Okay. And then we're going to end up doing all of this area up here. Gonna get all of this stuff in here. in there. I'll make that nice and dark pretty soon. Let's get this in here first. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. Okay, so let's get some of this blue here, some of this here. Alright, and we'll get some of that reflected in here as well. We need to. So what we want to do is to create even a darker area, don't we? Darker purple. A little bit of my sienna in here. My way of putting this stuff in after the fact. Okay, let's get that, let that dry up a bit. And then we're going to go back and model this, or remodel it, I guess. So I'm quiet, I'm silent, I'm not saying too much right now. There's not much to say. I gotta let this dry. And then we're gonna start to put in the fine detail so that we can really pull this out. And I'm not sure, I might be able to do this. I might be able to start it. I might be able to start it with a little bit of dark here. Let's see if I can. What I need is a lot of pigment. And very little water. And I'm going to have to turn this a little bit maybe. I'm not sure. Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to just play. Oh, see what I'm doing? Put my hand in it. Nice and dark. Making that a little bit dark down there. That's the bottom. I'm gonna have to make that a little glowier. I think that's the right word. I'm not sure, but I gotta bring that into this area a little bit more so that it's got a little bit more meat to it. Make it a little bit more vibrant. We'll do some of that nice red. Over here as well. And we're going to do it in here as well too. Because we got this in here, and then we got that, and then we got the table back here. Okay. All right, let's leave that alone for a bit. Let's get this area in here a little bit stronger. Probably I shouldn't have done that so soon. The reason for that is because it's going to feather out, but well, we're going to just have a little bit of a different bottle, that's all. See what it looks like. This is an interesting experiment. This is the neck. That goes this way. And this is going to be all dark. Probably gonna have to clean that up a bit too, because it's all spreading out. All right, so let's just let that sit for a bit. And dry that up. Okay, I let this dry out, and what I did is I ran a pencil line around here so I could find my edges again. I need to put some by pencil I'm talking about watercolor pencil, by the way. So I needed to put some edges back in that because I lost my ability to make sure that this has stayed nice and sharp. And some of these highlights, for instance, I'm going to have to go back and put in too. Little white areas, light areas here and there to help this along a little bit. Maybe a couple up here. Taking a white pencil and doing that. And you can use watercolor pencil to do this, or I could suggest you could use a white opaque paint, gouache. But there's a little highlights here and there that are will help this along. And I lost them, so I'm putting them. I'm just coming back in here and I'm putting them back in. For instance, there was a little bit of a highlight right in here to bring that back out a little bit more. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm bringing this out with color pencils because I think I might be able to do it a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. See, we have a little bit of orange in here. We'll just put some of that back in to help to get a little bit brighter spot in there. A little bit of orange. And again, the same thing over here and here. All right. A little bit of highlight. Okay, the same way with this and this. We have some highlights in here we got to go back and put in. All right, we lost them right here and here. This is where sometimes color pencil will come in, and you can do it easier with the watercolor pencils than you can. For instance, if I have a highlight, this highlight's coming down this way. And I got this nice white area in here. These white highlights that come down here and hit and end right there. And we got a little bit of highlight here. I'm going to just come around and just add that top to it. And that's going to be dark there. This is going to be a little bit of highlight right here. Some green. And the same way with this here. We got some highlights here. We got, this is all light. Under here. And would have the same thing up here. We got this coming in here. Nice and highlight. A little highlight there. Highlights here. We'll fill in the rest of that in a minute. Highlight like this. We got some highlights here. They're coming in. And I'm going to do some nice white, light, glistening areas here, here, and here. Coming over there like this, like here and here. Now, some strong highlights here. soften that up. And I'm going to make some of this here. Bit of a highlight there. Okay. All right. Okay, so we got the bottles there. Now I'll fill this in because I'm going to make this, I want to make that all dark around there. So let's get some, where's my brush? And see if I can get some pigment in there. Because this is going to be dark. Nice strong dark purple in here. And the same way with this thing here. We're just going to make this nice and dark in here. So what I'm basically doing is darkening a lot of this stuff up. Now I'm not going to darken everything out to the ends because there's no need to for the purposes of this demonstration, but it'll just give you an idea as to how we can handle this. One way we can handle this. I shouldn't say the only way we can handle this, but it is one of the ways that we can handle it. Alright, and then we'll just nice and wet. Get some water in here and sort of let it go. Same way with some of the stuff that's over here. Soften it all up. Alright. We got shadow. Okay, so here are my glass jars. One way to handle it. Combination of colored pencil, I'm going to make this a little bit oranger up here, a little bit brighter color. There you go. Gives me a little bit more vibrance to it too. That's what's nice about that. See? Add a little bit of cool, like it. That's good, that's better. Make that color right. Okay, one other thing I want to do here while I'm playing around with it, and it's darken up this area down here, which is the base. And I'm going to do this instead of with a brush, but I'm just going to come in here and well, it's not exactly what I want to do. That's not the color I want, but suppose I can get my blue. Yeah, my spectrum blue here. There we go. Let's get this a little bit more interesting here. And let's get this and probably this a little bit more interesting. I like it. All right, got some interesting color in there. That's close enough. You know, some of this didn't work out. We can fix it up here, fix it up there. Make this a little bit more vibrant here. Ah, it glows now. Okay, so that's the story. That's it for now. I'm your host, Tony Visco. You know me, we can keep working on this forever. Keep trying to improve it. We'll get to the point where we're not going to improve it much at all anymore. So thank you for being with me. Again, I'm your host, Tony Visco. This is Painting for Pleasure. Until next time, have fun.